Okay.
Welcome. I don't think so. I stated it last time. It's becoming more and more apparent that I'm ancillary in being here, and if I happen to get up and talk, that's fine. But you're really here to see each other at this point, right? And if I show up too and share a story or two, then maybe you're even a little bit happier. But that brings me to my first statement of the night, that December is our time when we like to have an exchange of food and beverage. So for our December meeting on December 11th, we're going to add a half hour to the time, and we're going to everyone bring something. I would love to have it a little bit coordinated, but don't have it be that if you can't bring something or you can't bring the thing that you said you might bring, that you stay away. That's not the point. The point is that we don't have 25 trays of cheese and crackers and nothing to drink. That would be the only point. And I should have taken care of this in advance about who was going to coordinate for us, who you might check in with. I did this last year too, but we'll do it again on the fly. Is there anyone that would like to volunteer to be the person that gets emailed with what people would like to bring? Jeanette. Thank you, Jeanette.
Yay, Jeanette.
Yay, Jeanette. Thank you, Jeanette. During the break, I'll put your email address up on the board, if that's okay with you. And in the meantime, on the break, if you do know that you'll be here on December 11th and you want to just stop by and tell Jeanette what you'd like to bring, that would be terrific too. Okay? Again, we're going to add a half hour so you can have some more time to be together and get to know each other. I don't think you guys really need too much more of that, but it's fun anyway, right? So just remember that, and we will put it on, I think it is on the website already, that'll be our day to share for the holidays, and we will put it out in our notice as well in case you forget. But again, don't let not bringing something keep you away from being here. We'll go over the calendar in 1 second, but sometimes Michelle is not sitting here with us when we begin, so since I do have her as a member of our fine audience today, Michelle Garvey, what would you like to share with us?
Hi.
Hi.
Hello. How's everybody?
For those of you who are new here, Michelle is, well, you can explain. Whatever you want to say, you are.
You may know something I don't. That's for sure. Hi, everybody. This is my home during the day. I work for the American Heart Association. I'm a fundraiser for the American Heart Association, so you're all captive in this room right now, so you can't run, because people usually do run when they hear fundraiser. But we've spoken about this before. Basically, our focus is building healthier lives free of cardiovascular diseases and stroke. So we're trying to stay away from telling everybody that you have heart disease, you have this, you have that. No, you need to take care of yourself, and you need to take care of, you're here to take care of your spirit and your soul. You need to take care of the body that it's in for now, because if you want to really enjoy what Karen is teaching us, you need to take care of your body. You don't want to get that in the way. So go on our website. It's phenomenal, www.heart.org. If you'd like to get involved with the Heart Association, please see me. We have many things that you can volunteer for. We're always looking for leaders in the community to be a part of our events. The purpose is to get out there and spread the word about doing what you need to do to take care of yourself. So there you go. Thank you.
All right, let me just briefly go over my calendar. December 9th is the New York City Enlightenment Power Group, if anyone is near there or wants to take a trip. I know once in a while people kick the idea around of just getting together in a car and all going in together. Whenever that happens, let me know, because other people that attend on a regular basis would love to meet up with you and grab a bite beforehand, because they're another very close group, much smaller than this group, but they're still close and open and welcoming. So I can put that together for you. December 11th, Plainview. I took a wild guess at those dates, so let's just pretend that it's somewhere around those dates. Sounded like mid-ish January. But if they were the real dates, this would be Friday of that weekend. through Monday of Martin Luther King Jr. weekend, the day that we celebrate. I'll be at the lodge at Woodloch, the spa. So if you're ever thinking about attending during one of the trips that I am there, that's the next time I'll be there. I'll be there again in March, but I can't remember the dates. But if you're looking to go in the spring instead, I'll be there again in March. January 25th, we're going to have our annual The Year Before Us seminar for 2014. And that's the big 3-hour seminar where I just open up the conduit to whatever non-physical sources have to say about what we can expect for the upcoming year, the shifts in the energy, things that can help you to make next year the best year that it can possibly be. And now, since this is my 3rd annual, either you've attended one in the past and you've seen the results in your own life, but the feedback from people that attend is that the information and the guidance and the value that you get all year through is just overwhelming. And I can still see people who are bringing their notebooks out in September and looking at things that they did because of that kickoff seminar that they knew to do, which helped them avert things that might be more challenging. So I didn't know what the heck I was doing the first time I did it in 2012, but now that I see all of the positive results of it, it is definitely something that is a great way to start your year so that you can embark on that year with having inside info, if you will, all right? Like the key to have the best year that you can have, that other people aren't going to have that key yet. So mark that date. That I think is the right date. It's a Saturday. If the 25th coincides with a Saturday, then I got that one right. April 6th, I don't even know the dates on that one, but it's somewhere around April 6th. Maybe if anyone has an iPhone, they can look it up. Obviously, I didn't get to do this today, but April 6th, there's a weekend that falls around that date, and starting on that Thursday through that Sunday will be, what is it?
It's the 3rd.
The 3rd?
Thursday is the 3rd.
I did pretty well then. Yeah. So is it the 3rd through the 6th? Hey, not bad, right? Cool. All right, the 3rd through the 6th. That'll be our next life program. That's Leading Intuitively for Empowerment. This is the only event that I do, the only program that I offer that is by application only, because the event is very small and very intimate. And as such, I'm not the one that decides who can and who cannot attend. So when you apply, your anonymous application goes to a panel of 3 people that I have that are very intuitive business leaders who really understand and appreciate the things that I do. And they're the ones that make the selection, okay? And don't feel uncomfortable about applying. It's much simpler than it sounds. Much simpler than it sounds. And there have been people that applied once and that one didn't work out for them, but then the second one or the next one worked. So also, just if it's something you're interested in, read about it on the website and apply if it's exciting to you. Next thing is save the date. We don't have the information up yet. May 1st through 4th, and those dates I do know to be accurate. Also a Thursday through a Sunday. That will be in Charleston, South Carolina, and it'll be a weekend dedicated to the concept of relationships. The way that this weekend is going to be set up is that if you want to come with somebody, you come with someone, and if you want to come alone, you come alone. It doesn't matter, because you're going to be learning things that are going to help you in the relationships that you have with everyone, as well as understand how to magnetize in even more beneficial relationships for you. And if you do have a primary person that you do bring, you're going to have specific exercises to be doing throughout the weekend with that person, so that what you're learning, you can roll your sleeves up and work on it right there and right then. And the tools that you learn, even with that person in particular, are still going to be what can help you to have better relationships with everyone. And when I say everyone, I mean everyone. You know, when we hear relationship, we think our primary romantic partner. But it's not limited to that. It's not. It's your sister, your parent, your child, your neighbor, your boss, your employees. It doesn't matter who the people are. you can develop great relationships with everybody, and the mechanisms are the same no matter who it's with. So if you do want to come with someone on that weekend, you can bring anybody you want. You know, if you are talking over the fence to your neighbor all the time and you say, hey, you want to go to a cool weekend about relationships with me? You know, grab him or her and take them along. You guys can still do exercises together that'll help you with all other relationships as well. Okay? So let's begin today. Let's start with our sharing. Who has any really cool whispers from the universe this month that they want to talk about? I see Anne-Marie lighting up back there.
No.
Oh, no. The universe doesn't speak to you yet, Anne-Marie.
No.
Anyone?
I was talking to a friend 2 days ago that I was telling about this session. I told this person I was coming here tonight, and they asked me what I get out of it. And I was trying to think of a concrete thing to tell somebody who doesn't understand what these sessions are about. And I remembered after the conversation, I remembered later, that at this time last year, I was in your Money Wisdom class. And the time management piece of that, which you taught us, that if we follow those steps, it would open up opportunities and the universe would bring us opportunities that we otherwise wouldn't see. And at this time last year, I was kind of struggling with direction and not sure where I should go. And through those exercises, especially the first 3 months of last year, when I did it religiously, it's really made an amazing change in my life. And it was funny that it was exactly a year ago we were in this class, and it came to mind yesterday.
Wow. Well, thanks for sharing. Yeah, I guess it was last autumn that
Right.
we were doing that class.
October, November, we were doing that class.
Hey, that's such a nice testimonial. Thank you. That's sweet. Oh, I like that one. That's really neat.
It's made a big difference.
Oh, good.
The momentum that I have in my business life right now, I can attribute to getting started as a result of the exercises from that class.
Thank you. Thanks. I appreciate it. Everything that I do bring forth, whether it's through a book or through these classes, everything I bring through, either it's been proven through my own life or I've now seen it be effective through clients. If it was an issue that I didn't have and I see this kind of information coming through for clients, I've never, ever indicated anything that I haven't felt at the core of me is effective, or anything that wouldn't bring you to a step closer and closer to having the kind of life that you really want to have. And the other thing, thank you, Tom, but another thing too is that if you're going to listen to this kind of information, it's great to listen to because it gets rid of some of the cobwebs and helps you remember things that you knew when you were born. But if it stays in your mind, then it's just kind of a cool thought. So if you notice, most of the stuff I do, there's always exercises. And I'm always saying, do this, or try this, or do this. And sometimes they may sound frivolous, or they may sound superfluous. But if a guide is giving an exercise to do, it's because it works. It's because it works. One very funny thing, and I haven't shared this much, but when I was receiving the answers, there were 2 exercises in that book, in the very beginning of the book. How many have read the answers? Wow, that's a couple. Okay, and everyone knows those 2 exercises, right? Now, I was new at all this. I didn't know why the 2 exercises were there. They sounded good, and I'm sure that they were good and helpful. But one of the reasons for the exercises is because that's a very deep book. Am I right? Right? It's not a summer read, the answers. Not a summer read. Or a beach read, I should say. And so what the design of it was that if you're not ready for the content of that book, you're going to be dissuaded to continue when you get to the second exercise because it's effort. And people will do one exercise and they'll be okay with it because they're excited in the beginning. But then when they get to the second exercise, they're like, oh, no, not another exercise. This is more work in reading than I thought it would be. And so those people will sometimes just put the book down. And I've seen it happen, that they step away, and I know that they're not ready for the content yet. But then years later, they'll say, you know what, let's try this again. I'm in a different place. And they pick it up and they get through the second exercise, and all of a sudden, they are ready for that content that they weren't ready for years earlier. But what was funny was that when I was receiving the book and I'm getting these exercises, I did them in my head as I'm receiving or after. And I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. I nailed it. I understand it. I get all the nuances. I feel like I have had an awakening from those exercises. And the first one I did like was asked in writing. And the second one I just did in my head because I'm too smart to have to sit down and pick up a piece of paper and write what I can figure out in my head, right? Did it. I was happy. The funny thing about it was that years later, I had a little dilemma. And I remember it was a cold day. I was sitting in my mommy vehicle watching some of my kids play soccer. It was too cold for me to be out there. And I'm thinking like about this dilemma that I have. And luckily, if I ever think to talk to guys, I might actually pose a question outwardly instead of just staying in here. So I did think to pose the question outwardly and look for an answer. And the first answer I got back was, do you remember the second exercise in the book, The Answers? And I'm like, yeah, of course. Why didn't you do it in writing like was requested? And I'm like, going in my head, I don't need that. And so I sat there in the caravan, I said it out loud. I sat there in formerly known as Loser Cruiser, but my kids aren't allowed to say that anymore. And I took out napkins and I started to write out the answers to that second exercise. And I am telling you, when I wrote the answers out, I had an epiphany that I didn't get just by doing it in my head. And so Tom's suggestion that the information from Money Wisdom or in taking the Money Wisdom class, that if you are diligent and you do the exercises, it works. That's the key. If you do it, it works. If you don't do it, it doesn't work. It's just that simple. It really is that simple. And that brings me to a reminder one more time that it's important to recall that we are a mind and a body and a spirit. And anytime you're setting to improve something in your journey, the first place that you get the idea is in your mind, and you're getting the data and the information for the improvement. It's all in your head. It's all in your thinking. And the idea of improving, the concept of improving, means you're bringing more soul into your life. So of the mind, body, spirit, you're already engaging the mind and the spirit. But you've left the body out of it. And a lot of the exercises that guides suggest have some element of using your body. And the reason is when you bring your body in, it's bringing your earth self into it. And it's building the foundation for the success of that particular focus, taking hold and having root. It's not enough to know it in your head, but those exercises help you to make it the foundation from which you will continue to develop and grow. And some of those suggestions on the exercises, they're really simple, like jot this down, jot that down. The simple process of taking a pen and putting it down on a piece of paper is bringing your body into the process of the mind and the body spirit connectedness. Okay? And as you all know, I don't practice yoga. I don't meditate. It doesn't mean that I don't think that those two things are awesome. And if I liked or could do either one, I would probably do it, and I probably would have saved myself a couple of years of agony to get to the place that either of those can bring you. But I figured out how to do it without either of those vehicles, which means that you don't have to engage your body only through what people commonly say are the ways to have a peaceful mind or to allow yourself to be more intuitive. There's other ways to do it. It doesn't have to be only meditation or yoga. If you like to meditate, if you like yoga, I highly recommend it. And as I said, I see it as a shortcut, an easier way to get to the places that I've been and the places that I go. So if it works for you, terrific. If it doesn't work for you, I got plenty of other things up my sleeve, so don't worry about it. All right? Anyone else have any whispers? Anthony.
Two major things. One, a couple months back earlier this year, I had books from the Pause for Inspiration, tapes and books and cards. I utilize it every day. It's how I get to peace and to a quiet place. And as I mentioned previously, back in April, I was gifted a trip to go to Chicago to their biannually conference. I had no idea in the last 24 hours up till yesterday, I'm again been gifted a full trip to go to St. Louis next weekend, all expenses paid by, by a fraction of the organization of Mary Lynn Ann. So yeah, I found it so important. I hand out the cards all the time. People here that have used them, it's wonderful. The second thing is, I just want to thank you again on behalf of, I think, most of the people in this, any of the people in this room that went to 2 Saturdays ago, workshop with J.D. Messenger and yourself. That was one of the most awesome experience I've ever had, and it's not stopping. It's just, I can't even explain the amount of things that have happened in the 2-week period since that time, the amount of connections with J.D. If anybody doesn't know about it, was J.D.'s modality is numerology. Had no idea what numerology was about. I certainly know a lot more about it today, and the report that was given to each one of us, it is not, I don't think there's one person in this room that won't say there's some stuff in there that's a direct hit, and it's been wonderful. So
well, thank you.
Thank you for bringing him to our attention and bringing him onto our, how can I say, our sphere of knowledge.
Thanks. He had a great time. He really did. He came from Houston to be here, and I actually, Anthony, it's kind of funny. I don't want to cut people off who also want to share something that happened wonderful in the world. So I'll get back to it. But I actually did want to start off with some of the things that J.D. said, which is kind of interesting. So I don't generally talk about previous events, but I do want to share in a moment when we're done talking about different things that happened. Anyone else have any really nice? Anne-Marie, really? Finally, the universe has spoken to you?
Now what I'm doing is I'm asking questions before I go to sleep, and I'm figuring out the question I want, and then I put it out to the universe, and then I wake up in the morning and I'm really quiet. And this morning I took pen and pencil and got all the answers I needed, and they told me exactly how to run a particular class I want to have. And they said, now that we gave it to you and you heard it and you wrote it down, now go do it. And I had to physically do what was instructed.
Hey, how funny is that?
So unbelievable. And I said, thank you, because now I went through what I'm going to ask other people to do, and it was that physical part, that body part, besides the spirit and besides the mind, and it was just great. So I had this whole thing written out, and
That's really
great.
cool.
Yeah,
it was cool. Yeah, you popped up in one of my dreams last night, Anne-Marie, so I'll share it with you later, okay? Yeah, it was kind of cool. It was really cool, but I'll tell you about it. So I think that was a case where maybe you were visiting me instead of me visiting everybody in the middle of the night like I always do. Maybe you came to see me for a change. Thank you very much. I got the night off. What's that?
We didn't finish until 1 o'clock last night. 2 o'clock.
Oh, maybe that's why you came. You popped.
Yeah, that's
popped
what we
in after you left. That's really funny. That's very funny. Anyone else? Good. No cool dreams, numbers talking to you, license plates. Yes.
Yes, the numbers I told you about on our phone session. I had a dream one night about the numbers 6732.
That's so specific.
Right. So, I thought about it, and I thought, I should play that number, but I don't really do that gambling, although I did yesterday. And I haven't checked the number yet, so I could be a winner, I don't know yet. But so then one day in the afternoon, a week after I had the dream, I'm thinking about that number again. I was going for my walk during my lunch hour, So then I started looking at license plates, and I'd go by, and well, I don't know why I was looking at the license plates, but then I came through another parking lot, and as soon as I turned the corner, there was a Mercedes, which is on, my list. And the numbers were 6372.
Hey!
I said, okay. And then I saw it again about 2 days ago. I saw it again, so I don't know what it means yet, but
So that just the
saying.
inversion of the numbers means you're almost there.
Right? Yeah, so that was cool to look
That's
at.
good.
And get that.
That's really neat. Excellent. Thank you. All right, let me talk about what I wanted to say about JD. How many people were at the numerology event? Okay, so there were a bunch of you. And what was really interesting is, I didn't know until that day that JD was born on Long Island. I was blown away. I had no idea. How I could not know that is beyond me. I've just always known him to be living in Houston. And I knew he had clients in Manhattan and clients in the Hamptons. So when we co-created this event, we figured if a bunch of his clients came, terrific. But it didn't matter to me much anyway. Whoever's there is there. As it turned out, everybody that did attend were clients of mine and not of his. And that was absolutely fine. It really was. And I love everybody, so it was really good for me too. But what was really interesting is that I spoke with JD a lot over the next few days. And what he shared with me, it affected me very profoundly. Like things I know, but to get physical evidence from someone that's an outsider, it really helped me to see and to have validation of some of the things that I do understand. And what that is that he's been, for those of you who don't know, he's a man who's a nuclear submarine physicist. He was the CEO of Ernst & Young in Singapore. He was the director of the Exxon Valdez cleanup. So this is a pretty educated, very cerebral, engineering, scientist kind of guy. But he had a broken neck and a couple of near-death experiences that entered him into the world that I live. I entered in on 9/11, and he entered in during this event. So he now has this same access or conduit to the information that I bring forth. And I get a big kick out of when someone from science or math or someone in very intensely cerebral, when they make that transition, it adds a lot of validity to what it is that I'm doing. Now that being said, as far as him being outward and doing this in public and speaking all over the world, and he had a radio show with CNN and blah, 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 he's got a lot more exposure than me, a lot more. And yet, the thing that so impressed him is he said with every audience he's ever had, he's never had an audience like he had with me that day. He said there was so much love in the room. He felt embraced and welcomed, and he felt like everyone had his heart in their hands. And he also said that it was the highest level of awareness group or collection of people that he had ever met in his entire life. And as a matter of fact, he had never even considered that the possibility existed that a group like that could be a part of his journey. He didn't even consider the possibility of it until that day. And so it's changed his life. It's changed his perception of what's possible. He's changing his business model because of it. So even though he came and brought us gifts, and he and I got to share that day with all of you that were there, it also gave him a fantastic gift. It gave him insights that what it is he's creating and what it is that I'm creating, it works. Because when you're peeling back the masks and layers and you're getting closer to your soul, you magnetize in people that are a better match to your present vibration than the people that you used to journey with. And all of a sudden things like conflict and controversy and heartache and trust issues, all of that stuff starts to really dissolve because
the people who come into your life and the people that you spend your time with are essentially vibrating at a very similar level to where you have chosen to be. Not where you used to be, but where you have chosen to be now. And I've been talking about the power of the ripples for years and years and years. One of the coolest things about what I do is that I don't have to finish anything. All I do is spend an hour with you, 2 hours with 50 of you, 3 hours with 100 of you, and you guys go out and you make the world a better place. I don't have to buy the building, pay the mortgage, get the workers, pay the lights. I do nothing. You just go out there, get all of your own cool stuff ignited, and then you go out and you change the world. And when you think about the people even in this room, or the hundreds of other people that have rotated through this particular group monthly, and you think about what they're out there doing, and how many people have walked away from careers, how many people have started getting licenses for something new agey, or whatever you want to call it, or people who have really shifted even in their hobbies or their place of work, or what is possible and what they do. Every time anyone gets information that helps them be more of who they're capable of being, that helps them find that light inside of them, of their strengths, of their talents, and then to have the courage to go along with executing those strengths, you make the world a better place, period. And it doesn't matter if you only touch 2 people. If you're doing something that shows that you are passionate and you're confident and it's coming from a source that feels inspired by universal truth, it doesn't matter if you're able to focus on 1 person or 2 people or 3 people, because you're still changing the world. You know, if someone gets up and they're asleep all day and they've never had a really powerful aha moment, all of their intersections with people are going to be challenged in some way or another. They might be coming from, what's in this for me? They might be coming from pain. They might be coming from ego. They might be coming from a place that's not going to be derived of a place where we all matter. But as soon as you start to wake up and take ownership of the fact that we are all connected and that the only thing that ultimately matters is love, then your interactions with other people change and shift. I think I might have mentioned this last time, but it's becoming more and more apparent to me that if you go to a traditional medium, you're going to get 1 of 6 people that come through. Your mother, your father, a brother, a sister, an aunt or an uncle, or a grandparent. That's pretty much it. Maybe if you had a best friend, that one will come through, or something. But when I'm doing a session with you, if I'm looking at your guides, you're going to get like your 4th grade teacher, or you're going to get the guy that you barely knew in 12th grade who committed suicide. And you're going to be like, wow, why on earth would he come through? I hardly knew him. And the answer is always, because now that I'm a soul and I'm not human, I comprehend you. And I comprehend that even though I barely knew you, you have a light in you that you made me feel like I was worthy. It might have been for 5 minutes. It might have been for 1 minute and a smile every day we got into class. Who knows exactly what it was, but there's something about you that made me feel like I was worthy. And so then they come and they guide you because they want to take the fact that you already have that going on and help you to move it forward, to help you put more ripples out there into the universe so that you can ignite self-love in more people. And that's what you guys are doing. That's what you're doing. You're igniting self-love in yourselves, and you're igniting self-love in others. Every time you share a sentence that's inspired by universal wisdom, you're igniting another person. And it doesn't stop there. It keeps going and going and going, because the people you touch people. And then they touch people, and so on, and so on, and so on. So I am a point of light on earth, and my light shines. And you are points of light on earth, and your light shines. And it's not a responsibility to let your light shine. It's a privilege. It's something that you do because you feel happier. And when you feel happier, you don't want other people to feel sad the way you might have felt. You want to give them the skills and the tools to let them be happy too. It's a byproduct. It's a natural extension of the process. And that's what we do, intentionally and accidentally. But as you strip away more and more and more, then you are helping other people to strip away more and more and more.
I just have to add two things about JD in the past week that has taken place. Last Saturday, I went to a workshop down in Lower Manhattan. Something different surprised me. But when I started reading JD's book this past week, I read through it already. Within the first chapter, in JD's conversation in the book, I emailed him or messaged him, who were you talking to? Was it God, Jesus, Holy Spirit, some spirit entity? Who? And he says it was Hermes. I took it as that. I read the end of the book before I went to the workshop, and he mentions that who he was talking to was himself, Soul, who has been identified by the name of Hermes. I walk out of the building last Saturday evening, a half a block from where I am, and there it is on the granite walls of whatever building downtown, and it was Hermes, Hermes.
Wow.
And right away I'm like, okay, I get it. You're not going to show it to me one time, you're going to show it twice. So it's complete validation there, so let him know
Well,
that.
no. It's not validation until you get it the third time. You know how it works.
Then the other thing, and I mentioned it briefly, in numerology, the master numbers are 11, 22, and 33. Well, next Friday when I leave to go to St. Louis, it's 11:22.
That's awesome.
So I get those as everyday occurrences, and JD's opened up a whole world of how you see things. It's just not the words that we're supposed to see anymore. It's the numbers also. They have meaning for us and things to show us. And get his book, 11 Days a Night.
Is he paying you? We all know better than that. We all know better than that. Obviously, I have
Not yet, anyway.
Good answer. Good answer.
Did you talk about 11/11?
I don't know. Did he talk about 11/11?
No.
No?
Sure.
Yeah, one of the reasons why it was fun for me to do such an event is because I don't know anything about numerology. And honestly, no offense, I don't really care to either. It's just not my tool. You know, I'll just go, I'll link up here, I'll get it right there. But it's fun, and a lot of people have a lot of fun with it. And that's the great thing about life here is that there's tons and tons and tons of vehicles for discovery, and some are appropriate to you and some are not appropriate to you. Some resonate and some don't. And it's fun to play. It's fun to play with the different ways that we can get access to information that can help us know things that we might not have known otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
Yes?
Well, I have to say, his report echoed almost everything you've ever told me.
Really?
Yeah, it's a lot of the same
Oh, wow.
information.
That's
just
fascinating.
Confirmation from another one.
That's fascinating.
Same
Really?
with me, yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
Yeah, like that.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's so interesting. Wow, I hadn't gotten any feedback, but that's really cool. Just another source of validation. That's really interesting. Yeah.
I went to a Wayne Dyer conference in the city.
Oh,
It was
nice.
Also, reflecting everything that you felt.
That's really neat. That's very neat.
Really powerful.
Yeah, that's cool. Other people were talking about the Abraham Wayne Dyer. What was it? A conference? I don't really know what it was.
Hay House.
Okay.
I can do it.
Okay.
Number of amazing people.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can see that it's growing. And you can see that if you look in the parking lot at a conference like that now, you're going to see a lot of, SUVs and fewer and fewer Volkswagen Bugs and.
Hey.
I did that on purpose. What was that? That hippie van, the Volkswagen van. Yeah, there's fewer and fewer Volkswagen vans at those.
But they still have the
those
long,
things.
long gray ponytails.
But they still have the long gray ponytails. Michael, you'll have to be working on that, okay?
The best I can.
But it is. It's not even that it's mainstream. It's just that more people are waking up, so more people are accepting different vehicles for discovery as truth. You know, and eventually everyone on Earth will remember. It might not be in our lifetime, but we'll get closer and closer, and we'll keep pushing it and pushing it and pushing it, and it'll spread. It'll keep happening. Okay? Because I so often forget to really give you guys a break, I'm going to give you a break now before I get into the next topic, because it is almost 8 o'clock already. And there's coffee. Restrooms are right down the hall. Make a right, a right, and a right. And we'll reconvene in about 5 minutes. Okay?
What's that? How do you do that? I don't know. You have parents stand there that like this. Yeah. That's a good question.
She told me why.
They worked together before all this happened, and then so.
Unless you move it and just put it against her. Yeah.
Kept it going.
I'm usually
With that.
Okay. I didn't go to that. Yeah, I heard of this guy.
Yeah. I usually have. There's got to be a piece of Samantha? I'm going to try to do something. You know what it's You could just shift it downwards and put it up that way. Yeah. Can you do that? Can you focus on that? Can you go that low? Probably not. All right, then how about this? Put it over here.
Oh, yeah?
Would that work?
That's what the first person.
So it can't go that way, right? Yeah. So you're thinking about that way.
I gotta get in there. And then I'll. Okay, there you go. Love it. Well, that's what I was thinking. What we usually do is we had put it up on something.
That's why I like what I do, because the system I feel like is not getting any better, it's getting worse maybe, and teachers are struggling, they can't get the information across in time or to that many students, so they're giving out frustrated, angry, and their stuff is really low. So to be honest,
One, I have to get a copy of it now.
You can make a kid smile about now.
Because most of the coming in, I know she made a movie. And then JD threw something at me the last 24 hours. And I'm what am I supposed to be seeing right now? It's not. I had the greatest conversation on the phone. And I was on
Some of them are older, almost like a good Hawaii. Something I wrote every time was even the people I thought was my
Somebody just logged on.
All the people
Give them, It's the only one of my
I've been to all of that. I was
communicating through. Okay, welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. See, I told you. We're here to see each other. I'm still here. Okay. A couple of other things I forgot to mention. Number one, we're going to be starting a Enlightenment Power group on Facebook. Because after each night that I'm here or I'm in the city, I get a lot of emails from people, and I get a lot of emails for days and days and days. And I like that you guys share with me, and I always write back to everyone. But I think it's cool that we have this community, and I don't have to be the only one that you're communicating with. It would be very cool if you could share with each other as well and dialogue about it, because whatever you focus on will expand. And if you're able to swap stories and tell aha moments that you had and insights that you have, and you share with this growing community, it's going to help it to keep expanding in your own life. And you'll be encouragement buddies to each other, because we know that this is a place where you leave your human self at the door, you bring your soul in, and then if you want to pick the human up at the door on your way back out, that's fine, it's not recommended, but you know that we do take care of each other, no matter who's here, no matter if you're new to the group or you've been here to every single meeting. We take care of each other. So I will be beginning that. Today's Thursday. It'll be up and running by the weekend, and I'll hand invite people that I know have attended. But please do look for it, and don't take it personally if I haven't hand invited you. It's just because I'm not electronically competent. That's all I'm going to do. That's all. I will call it the Karen Garvey Enlightenment Power Group. That's what we will call it. Okay?
On Facebook.
Are you
On
combining
Facebook.
the groups, the New York group and the Plainview group as one?
Yeah, I'll let everybody dialogue, because there's so many times that they would like to meet you and you would like to meet them, or people come to both. It is a good way to dialogue. And it's also fantastic for the people that live stream, because there are a lot of people that are a part of this group, but they don't know you. And it's good for them to have a place where they can interact, because you guys get to interact physically all the time, and they don't. So it would be a good place for them to get involved as well. I can't remember the details, and if I link in a little bit better, I will, but it was really funny that someone attended, I'm trying to remember how this worked. Somebody attended an event live, and they had only live streamed this event always. And someone at the live event, she's like, I hear his voice at the Enlightenment Power Group in Plainview all the time, and she even knew his name. I mean, it was like the funniest thing. So she felt like she knew the cast of characters from the voices. Is that Anthony? I know. Absolutely not.
Had to be.
Yeah. You know what, Ann? I'd like to give you some intuitive credit there. That was all logic. All logic. Nothing intuitive than that. But it was kind of, I did think it was kind of neat. And actually, I think it was the numerology event. She did recognize other voices, and she said it was really cool to start to put the faces together. And you guys are never on the video, because I wouldn't do that to you. So people don't know what anyone looks like when they're watching. Okay?
You're saying the numerology is up online?
No. I was just saying how she always watches online here, and when she went to the numerology event, she recognized people's voices from when they speak here. So that was kind of funny. So that'll be a place where you can interact with each other as well, and I will interact also. Rather than one of those pages, the page is very different. This will be a group. 100% interactive. You can post whatever you want and write on each other's feeds and things like that. Okay? I had another point. I said I had more than one, right? What else was I going to say? Debbie? Anyone? I really can't remember. It was something like housekeeping kind of thing like that. But I can't remember. I really can't. No one's going to help me? No intuitive person in the room? All right, let's move on. Maybe it'll pop into my head later. If you remember, I think it was last year when we were doing the monthly group, January, February, March, April, May, we were doing a specific intuition development tool each month, okay? And, I know what I was going to say. So, here we go. Because we have the kickoff January 25th for the 2014 seminar. What we'll do with the Enlightenment Power Group that particular month in January is we'll dedicate it to the questions and answers again. I do like to do that 2 or 3 times a year, and I still have, I think, 3 pieces of paper full of your questions from the last one. Yeah, and that'll be here. So in the January meeting here, it'll be questions and answers. Pretty much I'll toss the old ones, simply because whoever's there in attendance, that's whose questions are going to be answered. But think about it, email me your personal and your global questions. It'll be the entire time just answering your questions, whatever you have on your mind for the January meeting, okay? All right, so the other thing is, I always look at what's going on in my client base, and I watch for any emergence of similarity and when things are repeating among people, and it gives me some insight into what a lot of people are experiencing. And I do want to talk about a couple of things that have been on people's mind a little bit more over the last couple of weeks. And one is, I haven't talked in a long time just about what is intuition, okay? We always talk about the sharing, about how the universe is communicating with you, and we're giving ourselves permission to understand that this fantastic partnership that we have with the universe, with our guides, with our higher self, that it's infinite. It's always there, always will be there. It'll never go away. And the more you attune to it, the more you have access to information that is usually a more valuable resource than the resources that you can get on Earth. That's why I focus on it so much, because that information has helped me to have a happier life when information I had gotten for decades and decades on Earth never made me any happier. So that's why we develop our intuition. But I want to talk about, I haven't talked in a long time about what other modalities are there other than just witnessing the signs that exist, other than just accidentally kind of stumbling upon a communication that can give you validation or can give you help with making a decision. What other modalities are there? And I have talked quite often about dreams. So I just want to reignite your memory that dreams are a very effective way to get information of value. And the reason is that it's the reliable way that you quiet your mind almost every day. Most of us sleep every day. And when you sleep, your left brain settles down and it stops worrying and planning and figuring things out and being all logical and analytical. And the earth stuff all stored up in the left brain rests. And so you get to be your soul, and you get to roam, and you get to experience things. And so while you're dreaming, you can bring back information that's tremendously useful in helping you with understanding something you might not have understood before, or to visit with a person that you had loved on earth who's passed away, or to get help with a decision, or to unlock a fear and release it. And so I just want to keep reminding you that these tools are always available to you. But the thing that I've seen recently is that a lot of people are still putting pressure on themselves about how they want to receive their intuitive information. And one of the principles of enlightenment, one of those things that you're accidentally going to stumble upon at some time or another, in this lifetime or in another lifetime, is you're going to understand the value of not having attachments to outcomes. And so when you are trying to connect with all that is eternal, if you're really connected to only one particular way of receiving your information as the only way that you'll feel it's been validated, or the only way that you'll feel good or excited about understanding the partnership, then that particular modality is going to become elusive. Okay? Because the universe is wise, and the universe understands that if you want something too badly, you're creating a resistance that makes it more difficult for you to achieve that which it is that you want. So out of grace, they're going to make it more difficult for that modality to be the one that works for you. So you can have less of an attachment using another method of intuition, and you'll get data, you'll get validation, you'll get verification, you'll get communications, you'll get signs. And as you start to see the beauty of connecting, not using that modality that you were really, really striving for, the body of evidence that you attain in a different method will actually start to make you feel less attached to the one way that you wanted to receive, therefore opening that door for you. I can't tell you how many times somebody has gone through an intuition development class, and because they know that I can see, hear, feel, sense in just about every way non-physical sources, and I can auto-write, and I can get information in dreams, and I can visit you in the middle of the night, and I can do all of that, sometimes they'll connect to one thing that it is that I do, and that becomes their bar. So until I actually see a guide, I'm not going to believe anything. Or until I can actually hear the words, this means nothing to me. Or until I can actually auto-write information that I feel is valid, then I'm not going to believe that I have the ability to intuit. And we set up these invisible limits without even realizing that we're setting them up. So in everything that I talk about, in ways that we can get intuitive information, be carefree. Allow yourself to explore lots of different ways that you can show yourself that you are intuitive. And don't get too hung up on just one method. The more you get hung up on one method, the more elusive it will be. Okay? Anybody have any thoughts about this, of how something broke through when they let go?
A little bit different, not quite what you're asking, but when you first started to talk about that, I was thinking about how it relates, and something just struck me as kind of a universal truth, that if you only focus on one thing, it doesn't work. And I'm about to graduate from the Institute of Integrative Nutrition, and that principle holds true with, especially with kids and food. If you only eat one thing, you'll develop an allergy to it. It doesn't work. So it's almost like that's a universal truth. If you're only focused on one thing, whether it's the body or intuitive soul, it's going to backfire. You've got to be open to all kinds of different modalities.
Right.
Or food.
Yeah. I'm going to comment on that in a second. Okay? Yeah.
But the fact that you could remember what you weren't thinking before, and then you went on to something else,
Yeah.
and opened up the door for that.
Exactly. That's a great example. And the minute I turned my focus away from trying to achieve it, it did come through. Thank you for pointing that out. Okay, well, now we've got a lot, but I will get back to that. You're probably going to have to remind me what I'm getting back to. Okay?
I find that I use from my like talking to my higher self. I talk to myself, and
That's
I'll
not
ask a
strange.
question, and then I'll answer the question. And
Yeah.
it comes from just a different part of myself, and it's very
Wise.
so wise and compassionate. I mean, like two different personalities. I might be upset about something, and a lot of the times, I'm reaching because I'm dealing with something difficult. But it's like, it is. It's amazing what can come through, for me, and I do use it.
And I can validate for you from my experiences with not being connected to my body that we really do have a higher self. We really do have a whole self that's always in existence in the energy realm, and you really are just a piece of yourself. So it makes sense that you can attune even to your own wisdom. Sometimes we just talk about unlocking it within you. We're really not learning anything here, which is one of the reasons why you don't hear me use the word learn. We're only discovering or remembering or recalling. And communicating with your higher self can be an avenue to get that information.
But I also use meditation, and I have some incredible meditations, and also dreams. Like I have had a number of dreams lately that I connected. I didn't want to share them because there's a little sadness that came along with that, and it was sad dreams, and it was my mom who passed, and there was a sadness, and I knew she knew something. And then I lost my dog, shortly after that, and some other stuff. And so they're not, but there's something in that throughout the whole process, and the sadness and the loss. It hit me so hard. It's hard to explain.
I know, but your higher self is giving you comfort and somehow letting you know that everything is going to be all right. And even though your earth self is experiencing pain.
Of knowing the sadness, to know the love, and becoming so aware of how wonderful it is, and how the pleasure, the biggest pleasure is loving. And I know that it was a way I had to learn something. And I know that. And it's like a pain-pleasure thing. It's kind of odd. It's not odd.
I want to explain something. In the book Begin Here, if you guys remember, there's this chart of the vibrations of love, okay? And they're titled, all the different adjectives. And then you get to the neutral line, and then the adjectives take you from less than neutral all the way down to the lowest vibration, which is hate and fear, right? And hate and fear, they don't exist. They simply are the absence of love, okay? And the neutral line, there was one word that is neither high nor low, and the word is sad. And the reason is we think that sadness is only pain. But what sadness is a trigger for the fact that some quality of love seems to have been separated from us. And I use the word seem because love never dies, and if someone passes away, they're still with you, and they're still co-creating your reality with you. But the feeling that something has been taken away, or a feeling of separation, it's making you desire the reconnect with love. So all sadness is a reminder that you think love doesn't exist in your life when it actually does exist. So it's not a negative quality, okay? It's an opportunity to remember that your perception thinks that love has disappeared or that it's not in your life, but if you rethink it, you're going to realize that it is in your life. And I'm not only talking about grief. You know, if you have a fight with somebody and they withdraw their love from you, you can be very sad. But it's not sad because you have no love in your life. It's sad because you feel that you've been separated from the experience of love with that particular person. So sadness is actually good energy to keep you motivated, to keep remembering that love is what matters. And always remember that sadness means you think you're separated from love when you really are not. Okay? I think you had a question.
Oh,
Yes.
no, I was just, I'm sorry. No, it was just really strange because right before, when we were throwing the break, I turned to this gentleman and I said, I just have a quick question for you. I said, can you get signs through, electricity, through energy, through TV? And because sometimes I feel like I'm crazy, but it's so strange that you chimed in on it, and I turned and looked at him. And of course he told me, I said, I don't want to be that person because this is my second time. So, of course, he elaborated and said it comes in many forms, and I guess the fact that I haven't delved so deep, I am open-minded to all the different signs, but for some reason, I keep getting a lot of signs through this channel. I'm not limited to, but I just found it, because obviously you picked up on that, so I had to share that. It was definitely cool.
And I think there was another hand up somewhere. Yes.
For me, it's a song. A song will play in my head after something happens, after an event, whatever it is. So after I wrote all the stuff this morning, I have to ask you, I don't know what the song is. I Can Raise You Up?
Me?
Yeah, I figured you would know that.
Josh Groban.
I Can Raise You Up,
Josh
show
Groban.
you how to be,
Thank you.
show you how to see. It's just going through my head.
No,
I
it's
didn't
not
know
Josh
you
Groban.
sang it.
I'm better at creating than
Oh, you better at
than knowing music.
So this is the song. At the end of everything, I finished everything, and I kept repeating in my head. So I just took some of the words down, and that's it's music. It's always little snips of music.
Yeah, I have the same experience as you, Anne Marie, because I'm lyrically illiterate and musically disinclined. So it's a good vehicle for guides to communicate with me. That they'll give me a tune. I will do my very best to hum that tune to someone that lives in the musical world, and they can usually guide me to the song. And then I look up the lyrics, and sure enough, paragraph after paragraph is answering whatever question I had just had, or giving me a new perspective if I became myopic about a particular angle.
Can I just add, and that happens to me multiple times a day, you just type in the words that you got, lyrics to whatever the phrase that you get, and you'll get a host of songs that have those words in it, and you'll be able to pin it down every time.
Nancy.
One of the really profound speakers at the workshop, the entire one, was a woman who was the mother of one of the children who died at Sandy Hook. And what you just told me, what you just said about love being the absence of hate, she has written a book already and made it her mission to teach people to not hate but to love.
Wow, that's really cool.
She feels like if Adam had love in his life, he wouldn't have committed that horrifict act.
Yes, and I have to say that I can really appreciate that. When we look at society and we judge other, she was saying how there was a speaker at the conference that she was at, and the speaker was a mother who had lost a child during Sandy Hook. And that her whole mission now is to teach people that love really is the answer, and had the fellow whose name I don't choose to recall been loved as a child, that particular day would never have happened. And that is the truth, you know.
That if what? Say it again. I'm so sorry.
That if the boy if the shooter had been loved as a child adequately, then that day never would have happened. Period. You know, without a doubt. I'm going to get back to you. What were you talking about?
How if you only focus on one vehicle, then you develop an allergy to it.
And then there was another part two.
It was the allergy thing.
Yeah, it was the allergy thing. That if you focus on a food, you're going to get an allergy.
If you only eat one food, you'll become allergic to it. If you only focus on one way of communicating with guys, you'll develop an allergy to it.
All right. I have actually a lot of clients who have graduated from that program, and it's a really wonderful program. It is really one of the best that are out there. So I do appreciate their philosophies. But when I look at things from a universally wise perspective, I oftentimes will debunk myths that we perpetuate. And one of the myths that we perpetuate is that is something like if you only focus on one food, you will develop an allergy to it. The truth of that sentence is that it's likely you will because you believe you will, okay? And if you do, even if you don't believe that you will, then it's the universe's way to help you to have to experience something other than that particular food choice. You know, the universe is our partner, and sometimes they'll bring us to a point of discomfort to bring us to a grander point of comfort and happiness and fulfillment as well, all right? But there was something else that you said that I wanted to agree with something else that you said and give whatever evidence I have, but I can't remember what it was. It'll come, right? It'll come. But it's good to share so that you can hear other people's experiences and know more of the ways that you can interact with the universe. I was doing a home seminar in Philadelphia a few years ago, and the host was a woman who had lost her husband. And she was a young woman. She was only like 35, 37, something like that. And so there was a lot of people there, and we were talking a lot about how our loved ones let us know that they are still here. And I was speaking in front of the fireplace, and there was a mantel clock on the fireplace, and I'm speaking and speaking and speaking. And here's the most amazing thing about it. The clock on the mantel, she had later told us and shared with all of us, it stopped the minute that he died, okay? So he died at 6:08. The clock stopped at 6:08, and the clock never moved again. He had died a couple of years earlier. And interestingly, she just decided to leave it, almost like a memorial, if you will, and because she liked the miracle of it stopping at the moment that he died, and it gave her a feeling of interconnectedness with her. So while I'm there speaking, and I'm bringing him in, and I'm bringing others in, and so on and so forth, this is a true story. The clock started to work again while I was there. And everyone in the room got to connect to the miracle that had just happened. And that's how it works. When we are not physical, manipulating energy is not one of our greatest tricks. It's actually one of the easiest things. So to have your DVR stop, to have a song playing on your iPhone randomly, to have a clock stop on a certain minute, to have the power go out, to have a candle ignite. You know, these things are easy. They're easy. You know, we think that they're probably hard, but we are energy. Your soul is energy. So when your soul is not encumbered by all the misbeliefs of being human, you could do all this stuff all the time.
And once we stop being encumbered by the misbelief of the human journey, we'll be doing them on Earth with our minds and not having to actually change a battery and buy a new Energizer. Sorry, Energizer and Duracell and all that, but you might as well start thinking of another business plan now and get ahead of the curve, all right? And that is what is possible. So the point of this is to tell you that you don't have to doubt or dismiss a cool sign. If a sign makes you feel good, take ownership of it and let the love that it brings, let yourself receive the love that it brings. Let it in. Enjoy it. I remember when my dad passed away, he had some kind of an engineering degree or something like that. And after he passed away, and it's like the week after he died, I am telling you, every time I turned on a light switch, the bulb blew. And it wasn't like, I just bought the house a year ago and I bought all of the light bulbs at Home Depot from one particular lot and installed them all over the house. I'd lived there for a dozen years, and light bulbs, all different kinds. It could be fluorescent, it could be in the bathroom, it could be 60 watts, it could be a three-way. It didn't matter. And I'm like, pop 1, pop 2, pop 3. This is getting a little weird, right? So by pop 4, I'm starting to figure out that there's a coincidence going on here that might have some meaning. And so I start to realize that it's my dad playing tricks on me. And I have to tell you that at the end of 1 week, when the 9th bulb blew, I said, Dad, that's enough. I will talk to you. And when you communicate with me in the future, please choose a less expensive method. Okay? And he did.
So those two examples that you just had were exactly things that happened to me. Exactly.
My dad's coming into you.
The clock was, and I was just talking to you about my cousin, whose husband passed. The clock, it didn't stop, but the alarm would go off every month on the day that he died, at the time that he died. It was like unbelievable, incredible.
And because of what I do for a living, I get to hear the stories all the time.
Yep. She's always linking them and doing all kinds of stuff.
And it's cool.
It is cool.
Very cool. All right, now, what I want to shift to for the last bit of tonight is that I've always found that when I'm bringing forth information, it comes in almost two different packages. One is from the ground up, and the other is from the top down, okay? So what I mean by that is that a lot of the information that comes through is specific information for you as an individual or you as a group, or tools or techniques or exercises that you can do to let go of some of your masks and layers and begin to experience more joy in that arena of your life. That's a very common piece of information that I get. Now the other thing is I'll get information from the top down. So I'll often hear from guides what a bigger truth is, and then a description of how we live on earth that's tremendously separated from that truth, okay? And so tonight, I talked a little bit about reminding you all the ways that you can get intuitive information, but now I want to talk about top down, okay? Because sometimes if you get the big picture, then wherever you are, the gap just starts to close because you let go of a lot of the obstacles and misbeliefs in between that gap so you can get to that space a little bit faster. And I want to explain Earth Life in a way that I don't think I've ever explained it here before. But it is a way that helps me to understand the process, and it can probably help you understand the process more in a way that can make a difference in your perceptions about what happens on a day-to-day basis. And what it is that I get to be in the energy realm all the time, you know? I know what it's like. I know how ecstatic I feel. I know how limitless it is. I know how euphoric it is. I know what a tremendous experience it is. And if we can even scratch 1,000th of that feeling on Earth, it's a great day.
And that's what it's like all the time when I release my body and I only hang out as a soul. And remember how we're intended to live, how we're capable of being. And the other thing that I know in being in the energy realm is that anything that we can experience in physical life that's above the line, neutral and above, we can experience it in the energy realm as well. So I remember when I would start to get this information, I thought, you know what, there's some things about being a human that are really totally not enjoyable for me. But there's other stuff that I really like. And it would be such a drag if we went back home after all of this, struggling to become enlightened, and there was like no tangerines and no rainbows and no Derek playing his guitar for us. And that would be so boring, and I don't know if I would really want to go back there if I couldn't have all that stuff, all that color and sensations and all of the stuff that's fun and magical and the enormous variety of possibilities here. So in the energy realm, I realized that we do have all of this. And we project with our thought energy that which we want to experience. But because we also understand the interconnectedness of us all as souls, we also co-create or co-project the experiences that we want to experience. So for example, if I'm hanging out with a couple of souls, we will put our thought energy together and create a glider, and then we'll fly in it. But all of the feelings and the sensations of soaring and learning how to work this glider, they're all real. They're all real. So you get to have all of this wonderful stuff there. The only difference between here and there, really, is that in the energy realm, we're very, 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 very clear that our thoughts are projecting our experience, that our thoughts are creating our reality. And it doesn't mean that I control everything, because that would be boring also. But when I'm experiencing something that's unfamiliar, it's because I'm co-creating it with other souls. And my imagination and the imagination of other souls are sparking cool new experiences all the time. Experiences that lend us to have new discoveries and new sensations and new expansion and letting go of any perceived limit. And the only other thing that's different is that in the energy realm, you just keep magnetizing your best moment here. I mean, magnifying your best moment here, and multiply it again and again and again. And that's the sensations that we live in the energy realm. It is a high that I haven't heard of a lot of people really being able to experience on Earth. It's one of the reasons I do what I do, because I know what's possible. And there's a lot of little funny things that happen in my life that make it even more potent. Is number one, I could not figure out for the longest time, how could I not be a 60s child, right? How did I miss out on the 60s? I am the embodiment of the 60s. I am the 60s. I was wearing peace signs in the 1990s when it was uncool, okay? Nobody was wearing peace signs in the 1990s. And all of a sudden it became in vogue, and now you're all wearing them again. I am a hippie. Somehow I am a hippie. And so I was like, how on earth, how did the universe screw up so badly that I didn't get to really be a hippie, right? And I realized that with the childhood I had, it was a rough one, and I did a lot of stupid things as a young adult, self-sabotaging things, really, really dumb things. If I had had that experience in the 60s, I would probably be dead, because I would have stumbled upon drugs. And for some reason, no matter all the stupid stuff I did in this lifetime, there was a little intuition inside of me that said, that's a little too stupid. Somehow I knew drugs were not going to be for me. So
when I stumbled upon being able to return to the energy realm, I get to have a drug experience with no side effects, no downside, no after effect, and I get to be where you hear some people talk about the greatest high in the world. And I do it without any limitations at all. And if I had been one who got to get a glimpse of it through some artificial means when I was younger, I'm telling you, I probably would have been dead. Because I love it now, and I would have loved it then, and I probably would have taken the risk of all of the bad trips that I have to go through in order to get to that one that lets me do exactly what it is I do today without drugs. So knowing that now, you first of all don't use drugs, but you understand that drugs are a way that you quiet your mind. And one of the reasons that the 60s was so prolific is because a lot of people had quieted their left brain. So a lot of people were having really cool experiences where they were knowing and connecting again with the fact that the only thing that matters is love. So it created this enormous shift in our perceptions. Of course, there was a lot of negativity that came along with it because drugs are not the way to remember your eternal bliss. And there are side effects that come with it. And so the side effects were shown in society and in deaths and in suicides and in overdoses and in cultures that started to have real issues because of drugs. So it did its job in igniting us and moving forward, but as you can see, each decade since then, we're having more access to the information that returns us to this place without us having to dip into the bad end of the spectrum, the part of it that's not going to really help us to remember our eternal journey. And that's again why I advocate meditation and yoga. Because when you find your methods to clear your mind, you can experience this bliss. And the bliss that you have in that state of consciousness separated from your thinking self will remind you of what it's like to be a soul. And it will remind you of how it feels and what is possible to live. And every one of us is capable of living that as you continue this journey of peeling back the mistruths that we hear. So then, as a soul, you take this great leap and you decide to have a human journey. And more than likely, you decide to have another human journey because you've more than likely already been here before now. And in that leap of faith, you put forth a quest. You put forth an idea that you've developed that you really believe is possible, and you intend to meet that quest in your physical life. Earth amnesia happens, masks and layers happen, people constantly tell you things that are not true. People who are well-meaning don't know how to love you. People who are not well-meaning also don't know how to love you. So you separate from this wisdom of the soul, and you get indoctrinated into being a human. Now here's the mechanics. This is what I want to share with you tonight so that you can maybe see it from a different angle of being human. So what happens is you take this body. The body is born of the earth and it dies on the earth, right? It's just a banana peel to hold the soul while you have an earth life. That's all it is. And when the banana peel is let go, it's going to become nutrients to feed something else on the planet. And so the mechanics of it, for us to have physical manifestation for that which we create, demands that this machine be able to project our thought energy into physical existence. So what your brain is a projector. It's a machine that projects. It projects out your thoughts. And then that same machine is a receiver. It takes the data of what was projected out and it receives it back. And it interprets the changes in the data. It interprets what happened based on the projection. So this body is just a machine so that we can create in physicality, manifest in this one physical arena, our thoughts, and then register the consequences of our thoughts. The reason that we do this is because it's so easy and smooth and effortless in the energy realm to think and to create. It's so easy that the nuances and the subtleties don't really register with you. You know what? I'm up in a glider, scrap the glider. I'm on an enormous giraffe. Now I'm a cowboy, and now I'm running down the side of a rainbow. So how do you understand how you changed your consciousness to create this brand new reality if it's all happening so fast and you're not looking at the details of it, and you don't see the visible consequences or the perceptible consequences of moving towards thoughts that are limited? So on Earth, you're basically taking this whole entire process and you're putting it down into the slowest possible form of projection, where every single solitary thing has to be built and developed and created and painted and mined and all of this. And it's not as though we can have a cool idea that pops up in our head as a caveman and then tomorrow go out and build the Twin Towers. The progression is so slow that we also have to live in cooperation with others. So we can project a new and vivid thought and bring it back to physicality a little bit, but we can't go from this to this overnight. We accept the slow evolution. We accept the slow progress that we make when we willingly and knowingly let go of a perceived limit in our mind. And the only limits that exist are the limits that are in our minds. And so if you are a person who understands the idea of the law of attraction, or you understand the ideas in The Secret, or what people are talking about attracting in your reality, it's important to remember that everything that you will ever experience is created in your mind first. It's first created as a thought. The thought is the building block for everything that comes after. And you don't necessarily have to be the one that builds upon the thought. You can have a thought and it can be out there and someone else can pick up the thought and build it. And then thoughts can collect and build something bigger. And then as we start to pay attention to history, we can build on previous thoughts as well. One of the greatest benefits that we have on Earth in having infancy and childhood and maturation and death is the fact that we get to learn and discover and pass things on generationally by teaching the newer people the things that we already knew, so they don't have to reinvent the wheel and start over again. Imagine every generation that was born had to run around the earth and try to find that the magic of forging together iron and ore could make steel, and that we could go many stories up instead of just two. You know, we can't redo this stuff all the time, but we can build upon what we have discovered. And so when we are standing here in 2013, we are projecting our thoughts, we're perceiving the consequence of our thoughts, and we're interpreting our perception of what's going on. And if what we're projecting doesn't agree with us, what is the path to bring us to our best happiness is to say, if I don't like what this is, what can I do differently in here to project something out there that's going to come back and make me much happier? Because it all starts here. All right? But in that equation, we're not isolated either. I create my physical reality very, very, very strongly because I have fewer masks and layers than most people on Earth do. So the percentage of me painting my own reality is probably greater than the percentage of a lot of people painting their reality. It means that I'm impervious to things that some people are not impervious to. I know it, you guys know it, and that's the way it is, and we're not going to change it, and I'm happy about it. But you become more the creator of your own reality as you let go of that need to feel that you're buying into other people's misbeliefs. But in any state that you're in, we also co-create. So you alone are not going to be the only creator of your reality. You alone are not projecting what your day-to-day experience looks like and feels like. So when you interpret that data, you can take responsibility for the reflection, but it's also important to understand that you haven't done it alone, that there's a lot of factors that went into what that physical reality is looking like and feeling like to you. And I go back to this story, and I haven't told it in this group for a long time, so I'll say it again because it really demonstrates this process beautifully. And I'll tell it the way that I do in a fable-like way. And that is that when most of us in this room were growing up, children were not dying of peanut allergies. It's kind of something new. It's kind of something unusual, something that we certainly didn't experience as kids. So how could it be? The average person is going to go and turn to the environment and farming methods and chemicals and pollution and poisons as the explanation for it. But when you recall that we are the projectors of our reality, the earth can't start anything on us. All it can do is to respond to what we put out there in our thought energy. The earth is not a creator. We are the creators. And the earth is there to be our partner, to reflect back the quality of our thinking. So how did nut allergies really come about? And again, I'll tell it like a story. So a long time ago, a little boy died. And there was nothing wrong with him. But after the autopsy, they couldn't find any conclusive reason why he died. And then somebody said, I heard that he had peanut butter for lunch, and he'd never had peanut butter before. I think he probably died like in an allergy to those peanuts. And now, because it was a little boy, there's 1,000 people at the wake and the funeral because it's sad. And everyone starts to talk about the peanut butter sandwich. And everybody agrees that this boy died because he ate peanut butter. And the reason that they believe it when they heard it is because they have children, or they might have children, or they know children, and they want an explanation for why the children that they love will not die. So if they just say that the boy died because of peanuts, it makes them feel safer. And they don't have to bring that fear that my kid is just going to die. That's the reason. So then those 1,000 people tell other people, and it goes on and on and on. Now, before you know it, in another town far away, a girl dies, a little girl. And immediately someone says, do you know if she happened to have peanut butter that day? And sure enough, someone asks the mom, and mom says, yeah, she did. She had peanut butter today. Did you know that Jacob from blah, 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 blah town died because of an allergy to peanuts? And of course, the autopsy shows nothing, so now we conclude that she too has died of a peanut allergy. Now we've got 1,000 times the 10 people that all of those 1,000 people know. Then we multiply it by the next town and all of the people that knew that girl. And before you know it, you have thousands upon thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people who believe that peanuts is capable of killing children. All right? So this goes on for years, and this myth propagates. So eventually, the peanuts, who are just kind of like sunning themselves and eating through their roots, all of a sudden they get to hear this consciousness. They hear the thought energy. And they're like, hey, Skip, did you know that we cause death in children?
Skip says, no, Jeff, I didn't know that. And so they start to let their physiology change so that they can perform that which they have been told they do. And at this point, as their physiology changes, it doesn't really matter that it has to be contained within only a family that now believes that nut allergies can kill. It spreads over to people that don't even know that a nut can cause an allergy that can kill. Because the peanuts are now in agreement. They're echoing back our conscious thought energy. So you don't even have to have ever thought it in order to experience it. The reason is it's designed to help you understand the quality of your thoughts. It's to help you understand that every thought you put out there in the universe is the building block for physical manifestation. And until we are able to understand that what we think and perceive is creating our individual and our collective reality, we can't change it back until we know that. And if you think about this, here's how you have evidence. When we separate from the vibration of love throughout history, it manufactures itself in hatred. And all the way through history, you can find hatred. You can find people killing each other in the name of God or religion or fighting over territory or ideas. And they're living in hatred. And that hatred is born of fear, which is also the absence of love. So as we evolved, we made a conscious decision to no longer hate. And we're in the process of choosing not to hate anymore. We might not be perfect at it, but you know what? We're doing a pretty good job. And there's enough evidence on earth that we're getting somewhere with it. When you see less prejudice, and you see, maybe political correctness is helping to push it a little bit further, but there are things where people are now not going to be openly and blatantly judgmental or abusive of people who are different than themselves. So we're kind of getting a little bit of a handle on the hatred. And as we continue to evolve, hatred will be completely and socially unacceptable. So you'd have to be an idiot if you outwardly expressed or experienced hatred in any form. But something else is taking over that's even more insidious than hatred. Because hatred you can see. You can see the projection of it. And you can witness back an interpretation of the effect that it has on us. But the replacement energy, or lack of energy, lack of loving energy, is fear. And fear is insidious because we can't see that our fears is what's creating the majority of the challenges that exist on earth, period. Hatred is not encouraged in society. We're not elbowing each other and telling each other to be prejudiced against groups of people. We wouldn't do that openly anymore. But we do collectively support fear. We make a big deal out of supporting fear in one another. If you watch the news or you listen to people and you hear anything, the news of the day, it's fear-based. It's fear-based. Every headline, every news report, every conversation is about fear.
Even the weather.
Even the weather. It's all about fear. And I think a great example of that would be a few years ago when, I don't know what group it was, American Medical Association, I'm not going to pretend that I remember names, but they altered their recommendation of when women should have mammograms, okay? And they decreased the frequency and they increased the age at which women should begin to have mammographies. And their concept was that their research indicated that the stress from the recommended appointments created more cellular challenge than the
possibility of someone actually having breast cancer at those particular ages. So they had enough research to show that the cells were changing because people were paying attention so much to the mammogram and waiting for the result and wondering where they are on the chart when they have to get the next one, and the fear of going. And all of this created so much focus that it was actually helping to change the healthfulness of the cells. So American Medical Association, or wherever it was, went out on a huge limb to say, we're pulling back, and here's why. Does anyone remember this?
Yeah.
Okay. What's the result? Fear. They threw it within 48 hours. They pulled it back because of the backlash. Because we do not propagate the mind-body-spirit connectedness. We do not propagate safety. We do not propagate any role that we have in our own healthfulness. We only propagate the idea that your bodies are victims and that someone other than you is responsible for the healthfulness of that body. And so fear is advocated, encouraged, and supported, but not just in a little tiny way, but in a really big, massive way. And when you witness the progression of allergies and aversions to certain foods and how much it is accelerating over the last decade, that is the byproduct of fear. It's not the byproduct of farming. It's not the byproduct of pesticides. It's the product of fear, collective fear. Now, in the projection of human reality, can we do things to accelerate the process of stimulants in our environment causing changes in cells? Yes. But we are the ones that created the pollutants based on our fear to begin with. And when you opt out of fear, those things on earth that we consider to be harmful cannot harm you. It can't. You opt out of fear, you're going to be much healthier because you're going to understand the connection between you and your cells and your body. I opted out. If anyone here knows me, have you ever known me to go to a doctor? Have I ever missed a class or a meeting or a coaching session with anyone in this room once? No. Have I ever rescheduled due to illness? No. Have I ever completely lost my voice while standing up here? Have I ever had a broken limb since you've known me? Nothing, right? It's like, what the heck am I made out of? I am made of love. I'm made of love. I am impervious to harm. I'm the new superhero. And so that's what I wanted to share with you tonight. Another way of looking at reality. That's the big, 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 big picture. And I know I take small steps to help people understand the big picture. But every now and then you just have to stop and say, this is the truth, and if you want to keep doing all this stuff in here, you're going to contribute to making it worse for yourself and everyone. So be the one who says the buck stops here. I am fearless, and I'm not buying into it anymore. So I'm passing around a piece of paper. Anyone have a piece of paper for me? It's bigger than that.
No, not that big.
Okay. Let's find a piece of paper. All right, I'm going to pass around a piece of paper, and if you want to use your body in this mind-body-spirit thing to make this particular concept have a foundation that takes root, I'm passing out an opt-out form, okay? If you sign this form, you are opting out of fear, okay? So opt out of fear, and that's one of the easiest ways to get closer and closer to the vibration of love, which is what does create our happy reality on earth as happily as we experience when we're not on earth. Oh, it's 9:05. How perfect is that? Thanks for being here, everybody. And like I said, keep in touch and watch if you are on Facebook or you're not, and you want to create an account so that you can be a part of our new group, just friend request me, and then I'll put out an invitation to you. And keep your eyes open for it. And do share, because you want to have faith and trust in each other to be important sources of information and support as well. Okay? Thank you for being here, everyone. Good. Yeah. Walked it out of your